So Jamie Russell is still ignoring that God's word says we can't keep the commandments and turning to the verses that he wants to interpret as though we can. So recently he posted about 1 John chapter 2. And let me show it to you. Give me a second. First John chapter 2 and verse 3 says, "And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments." So Jamie Russell goes, "Oh, see, we can keep the commandments." And I say to Jamie, "But you can't keep them perfectly." "Oh yeah, that's okay. We still keep them imperfectly." No, the Bible knows nothing of keeping them imperfectly. Let me prove it to you. And Jamie says, "I'm still waiting for your answer, Graham." I give Jamie this answer, and the lobotomized cretin can't hear the answer. Matthew 5:48 says, "Be perfect as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." That's God's standard. That's what God commands of us, Jamie. Not just to keep his commandments imperfectly like you think. No, God's standard is that we be perfect. Who is perfect? None of us. None of us, Jamie. Right? If you're going to turn to 1 John 2:3, we've got to keep the commandments, then what about this commandment? To be perfect as God is perfect. Because don't just try and slime your way out of this by going, "Oh, but perfect there means complete or mature." No, as God is perfect. How complete or mature is God? He's sinlessly perfect, Jamie. Are you listening? Stop telling me that I haven't answered this. I've answered it numerous times. You're not listening. Let me show you another verse, and I've tried to explain this verse to you as well, and you just ignore it and change the topic. James 2:10, "For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one, he is guilty of all." If you don't keep the law perfectly, you're not keeping it at all, according to God. "For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one, he is guilty of all." Are you listening, Jamie? Are you able to listen? It appears not. So let's go back to 1 John. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3 says, "And hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments." So what do we do with that if we can't obey them perfectly? You know what the most important commandment is? Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart and soul and mind and strength. We can't do that. The most important commandment is to trust him, because we can't obey his commandments. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, because that's the next little game that Jamie plays, is he tries to make out I'm an antinomian. No, I'm not against the law. I understand the purpose of the law. The law was given to show us we are not holy. The law was given to condemn us. It's the schoolmaster to bring us to Christ and salvation by grace through faith. Not our own works, Jamie. Stop trusting yourself. You can't do it. He's done it all. Trust him. And as you trust him and seek to obey the commandments, even though you do it imperfectly, God will credit to you his righteousness. It says it here in James. Keep reading the chapter. It says it in Romans. We don't obey the commandments, but if we trust him, he credits his righteousness to us. And once again, trusting him doesn't mean sitting back and going, oh, well, I don't have to obey the commandments at all. No. If we trust him, we seek to obey the commandments, Jamie. Stop being an idiot. Listen to God's word. Understand the gospel. Salvation is by grace alone, through faith alone. You can't obey the commandments. Trust him. He has already obeyed them. And as you trust him and obey, he credits his righteousness to you, and he will obey the commandments because you can't. Stop trusting yourself, Jamie.